stablecoins have product market fit. That's what's happening. They have a new legislative act of Congress, and it's very rare in financial services you get both of those two things happen at the same time. And when you do, everybody sits up and takes notice.
Welcome to the Galileo Financial Technologies Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Henderson. We're here to delve into the thrilling world of fintech and banking, exploring the latest trends, innovations, and disruptions. Every episode features insightful chats with industry leaders and visionaries who are pushing the boundaries of finance and banking. Whether you're passionate about fintech, running a startup, leading a large bank, or just intrigued by financial technology, this podcast is your go-to source for staying ahead. Let's dive into the future of finance and banking together.
All right, well, welcome to the Galileo podcast booth here at Fintech Nerdcon here in Miami 2025. And we're here with Simon Taylor. So, Simon, how has this event been going? Is this what you had envisioned? We're now approaching the last,
I didn't know
stretch.
What to expect, honestly, and it's just blown me away. The one bit of feedback I've had from everybody is it felt so curated, and the quality of attendees was off the charts. Somebody said to me, this is everybody I go to Vegas to meet, and none of the people I try and avoid. It's just like all of the high quality people in one place. So that's huge for me. And the other thing that's huge is people really did like the content, and they've liked some of the stuff we've done that's unique. We've done paint a graffiti bus. We've done workshops on how people are using AI and what their process and their workflows look like. People are getting real value from it. They're coming away going, I actually learned something. And that is what I wanted. And let's do next year bigger and better in every possible way. But I'm not going to lose the curated thing. That's critical, and I want my most high value attendees to feel like constantly they had time to talk to each other. They weren't stacked in back-to-back meetings, and they really got something from it. Somebody came off stage, one of our sponsors, and said immediately after they got off stage, one of the top 10 banks in the US came up to them and said, we want to bring you into an RFP. That was really cool. It's a relatively small Series B, sorry. And then the next conversation they had was with somebody from one of the largest document PDF like storage companies in the world. And they said, we'd love to help distribute what you do. It's really good. That is huge for me.
Absolutely.
Because you're getting the classic benefit of being a sponsor, but the attendee doesn't feel like they're being spammed and overwhelmed by booths. That's where we're going.
I love it. No, and I love the branding of the conference, and I agree. The people that are here, it's great. The conversations we've had, super valuable. Curious about Miami. Why did you guys decide to do it here?
So it had to be not Vegas.
Right.
So then the question is where? And I wanted to do something around the fact that the LATAM diaspora is really becoming a core consumer market. I knew that Nubank were looking to come into North America. I had a good inkling I could get them if I did something in Miami. So that sort of gave me an anchor. Miami in its own right is a bit of a financial hub, especially for the diaspora in Latin America and payments and cross-border. So it gave me that. It was on the East Coast, which is accessible for me from Europe, but a lot of people traveling. And it's also, there are worse places to be in November than Miami. And Wynwood was another big thing for me, specifically. Right. Not Miami, not in a hotel, but specifically out by the Wynwood Walls, out by the graffiti, out by the art, out by the restaurant district, out by where you can go have a game of pickleball, or you can go do a graffiti art tour or cocktail making, or these are the sorts of things that build a sense of community. And I think what we've got with Fintech Nerdcon is the Fintech Nerd community. I started a newsletter in the pandemic a long time ago, and I just opened it with, hey, Fintech Nerds, not even thinking about what that meant. And it turns out there are a bunch of people who identify almost like tribally as Fintech Nerds. And it turns out those people are founders of companies. They are the best buyer for your product. They're advocates for what you do. And they actually really care about their job. And that's who comes to Fintech Nerdcon.
Absolutely. And I would classify myself as one of those fintech nerds, and we're super grateful for the opportunity as Galileo and as a company to help sponsor this event and help bring it to life. But regardless of being here as Galileo or even as myself as a fintech nerd, the content and everything that's happening is super interesting to me. And getting to do this in Miami is an absolute bonus on top of that. And so far, the event has been awesome. Excited to see what continues to come of this afterward as well, and some of the things that happen. We live in interesting time right now. So much is happening. Stablecoins. You've talked a lot about them. There's a lot happening right now. And I want to unpack that topic a little bit and try to peer into your brain and understand, like, what are you seeing? What is it that is happening so that banks, fintechs, non-brands potentially that want to take advantage of this opportunity? I feel like we're living in this very big opportunity that if banks and fintechs really want to take advantage of it, they can be almost a winner's takes most. It doesn't have to be a winner take all scenario, but it's like you could be left behind if you don't understand what's at stake in terms of innovation and opportunity of what's ahead of us. What are your thoughts on that?
Stablecoins have product market fit. That's what's happening. They have a new legislative act of Congress, and it's very rare in financial services you get both of those two things happen at the same time. And when you do, everybody sits up and takes notice. Now, the product market fit is mostly for either exotic currencies or dollarization, or consumers who want to avoid hyperinflation, businesses who want to avoid hyperinflation, consumers in long-tail markets who want to access digital products. These are things that are real. So if I'm OpenAI, by accepting stablecoins through my checkout, I get access to hundreds of millions more customers. That's a business case, that's ROI. If I'm launching a debit card program and I'm doing it on top of stablecoins, people can hold dollars and they can earn yield on dollars, and they can potentially even access US stocks. That is a life-changing opportunity for many people in many parts of the world. That's called product market fit. Now, with the financial institutions, they're coming at the other side. Their biggest corporates are saying, hang on, I operate in 197 countries. Sometimes I need to go from Malaysia to the Philippines, or I need to do these really weird, very expensive transactions, and I have quite a lot of those. It'd be really great if there was like another rail besides your core rail, because stablecoins are not cheaper for going GBP to USD or Euro to USD. It doesn't even come close for INR to Euro to USD. Though the existing FX market is incredibly efficient for most people, most of the time, especially large corporates. But there are these edge cases where it's not. And that's where stablecoins has product market fit. And that's what people are seeing. So everybody's coming at it, trying to figure out what's real and what's not. And the reality is the cross-border use case is real, but it's not cross-border in the traditional sense.
And I actually had a chance last night to listen to the on-stage debate around stablecoins. Are they good? Are they bad? Seems like everyone is pretty much in agreement in terms of the opportunity that we have. But I feel like a lot of companies and a lot of individuals within these companies understand at a definition level what things are, but in terms of like practicality and innovation and implementing some of these things, it's like that's the phase we're in right now.
Yeah, so, it is. If I'm a fintech company, who are my providers? Who are my third parties? Right. How do I give a consumer a wallet if I've already got an app? And how do I secure that? How do they initiate transactions? What blockchain should I use? How do I custody those funds? Turns out there's just as there's a layer cake in payments, there's a layer cake in stablecoins, and it's all different. And so there's a lot of complex questions there. And this is why your Bridges, BVNK, Zero Hash are doing really well at the moment, because they come along and go, single API will abstract all of it for you. But then some people come along and go, but I want to do this bit myself and that bit myself. So it depends who you are. It's always one of those, it's very hard to buy stablecoins in a way that's off the rack. Right. There's a lot of custom suits out there, and how much do you want to go to the tailor versus how much do you want to just take the off-the-rack version? And if you take off the rack, you actually potentially lose out on unit economics, but you benefit on time to market. So interesting trade-offs and questions, but I think what we'll start to see in the next 12 months is a lot of things from the bigger organizations that just take a little bit longer to happen. Those will start coming out into the marketplace, and you'll see people really sit up and take notice, especially if crypto prices continue to fall, but stablecoins continue to gain momentum. Then you're in a place where it's very clear that this is not a speculative use case.
So with Galileo being a payments company and on the card issuing side, I want to understand a little bit from your perspective what the difference between an on-ramp and an off-ramp is and how companies in the payments and card space should be thinking about that.
On-ramp is from traditional fiat, my bank account, my debit credit card, into stablecoins, into crypto, so get onto a blockchain. Off-ramp is get from the blockchain into a traditional bank account. Simple as that. How should you think about it? It's where all the friction is. So solve that friction. Like, your opportunity as a financial institution is to figure out your risk appetite for stablecoins. Once you've done that, it's be the best possible off-ramp in the world, because the demand for that is off the charts. The difficulty in building that risk appetite is non-trivial, because now what I have is an instant 24/7 version of cash, and high risk, high risk, high risk, every trigger word to every compliance person ever. But that's your intellectual property, is building your risk appetite. So go build that risk appetite and win at it, and you can be the off-ramp as a financial institution. And I think what we're starting to see is the on and off ramps are disappearing, especially in the cards world. If I have a stablecoin wallet and there is a card linked to that stablecoin wallet, what do I need an off ramp for? So as far as I'm concerned, with this new mobile app that I downloaded, put something in it that looks like $1. It just has the letter C at the end, and it might even look like dollars. In most cases, it does these days. And I can use the card that's linked to this wallet to spend anywhere Visa or MasterCard is accepted. Somebody like a Galileo would authorize that transaction to the Visa network. Visa then manages, with the help of some of the third parties, the ability to settle that in stablecoins. And then you end up in this completely different position. So principal members of the networks can help you take a stablecoin balance and settle directly from that stablecoin balance rather than settling in traditional ways. And I think that's still something that's happening at smaller scale through companies like Rain. But what you'll start to see is the banks and the financial institutions start to offer stablecoin settlement. And when they do that, they have a giant revenue opportunity in front of them, and stablecoins get unlocked for consumers. But it's a giant revenue opportunity on one P&L. On the other side, it's am I losing card-holding customers? So there's always that dueling P&L thing.
You've mentioned a couple of companies, Rain being one of them, Bridge working with Stripe, who we happen to work with as well, and helping them launch their card. And then being a part of SoFi as an entity within the company is also taking this approach very seriously in terms of crypto and getting back into that and being like the first regulated bank within the US that can actually offer, buy, sell, hold crypto, and taking the space very serious. Curious, like, on your thoughts of these specific companies and what they're doing to innovate around stablecoins and crypto.
So I think the biggest thing is right now it's finding the way for it to feel frictionless to consumers that the on-ramps don't work. Bridge's biggest innovation is putting together a clean, simple API for, I want to make payouts in stablecoins. And so that clean, simple API just says, send me the wallet address you want to send those stable coins to, and we'll pull that from your stablecoin balance and send it. You don't have to think about integrating to a blockchain. You don't have to think about custodying those funds. You don't think about having to, if you're sending it to somebody that doesn't already have a wallet, how am I going to make sure they have a wallet and that they've got gas in that wallet so that they can receive the funds? Because this is the crazy thing. If I was to just send you a stable coin to your, not to your address, but to your name, and you didn't have a wallet yet, and you got a new wallet, if you don't have this other currency called gas in there, guess what? You can't receive it. It's gone. It's lost. So Bridge solves all of that sort of stuff for you. Rain comes along and goes, it's great for moving money, but what about having a card? Rain comes along and says, we're a direct member of Visa. We can be your BIN sponsor. We work with a number of partner banks. We can help you manage the program, but we'll also help acquire your stablecoins, sell those stablecoins, and off-ramp them for you with any bank that you want so that you get paid in fiat for your settlement, if that's the way you want to go, or we'll just deliver you stablecoins. Like, it's really rapid in how it goes into that world. So most merchants are going to want to end up getting settled in fiat, so it just goes out into the traditional banking rails. But increasingly, they're branching out into other types of payments flows.
I love that. Shifting gears a little bit towards banks and what banks can be thinking about when it comes to stablecoins. I've heard you talk a lot about stablecoins versus tokenized deposits. What should banks be doing in terms of planning for 2026 and beyond, or a long-term strategy around, first, the difference between the two and how they should think about innovating?
So a tokenized deposit is a very different thing to a stablecoin. A stablecoin is like cash.
Right.
Like, I can send you a stablecoin no matter which wallet you're using, so long as they're compatible. It's just like giving you a physical cash. Like, you have that thing and I no longer do. I can't send you a tokenized deposit unless you're also a customer of the same bank as me. So with tokenized deposits, the reason I can't do that is because they may have KYC'd me, but they haven't KYC'd you. You are not their customer. So the way we solved this in traditional banking was with clearing and by understanding trust networks and other banks, and we clear through the central bank or clearing counterparties. There's no such thing in stablecoins or tokenized deposits. So banks are doing that primarily to solve for their existing customers' problem set. I'm a customer of JP Morgan and I want to send money instantly 24/7 across borders. Cool, you can now do that. And I'm that customer and I want to send it to my Citi bank account or to my HSBC bank account. Sorry, can't do that. So that closed loop effect is happening. It's really good, but there's only so much fun you can have with your own tokenized deposit. You need to take those open loop. So the interesting question is, do we start to see people going tokenized deposit, stablecoin tokenized deposit, or will we see tokenized deposit, swap? And that's what I'm spending a lot of time with financial institutions on at the moment is, what does that picture need to look like? What does that governance need to look like? There's stuff coming out of the Bank of International Settlements, Project Agora, SWIFT have a working group, there's UBIX, there's several others trying to figure this out. I don't think we've agreed on what the answer is yet. My point is there's 3 answers, pick one. So that's where I'm spending all of my time at Tempo at the moment is, can we be a speedboat for you to just do this with real world volume? Stablecoins are out there. So for 2026 as a bank, pick your use case. If you haven't already launched tokenized deposits and you're a GSIB, you operate cross borders, you probably should. But the biggest thing you can do is figure out how you make that interoperable with stablecoins and how you make that interoperable with other tokenized deposits. And I'm happy to help with that. Come speak to me, simon@tempo.xyz. If you're a regional bank, I think it's a different conversation. For regional banks, where can stablecoins really be beneficial for you instead of dealing with your correspondent? Like, that as an opportunity is really worth exploring. And then I think for the community banks, stablecoins represent a whole new world for banking as a service. Like, it's an entirely different model. So can you sponsor cards? Can you be a great off-ramp? Lead Bank has been doing that for quite some time, but I think now we have much more legislative clarity. You could do that on a much bigger scale. You could do some really interesting flow of funds and payment stuff. Go figure that out. And again, simon@tempo.xyz.
So it's easy to assume in the future that blockchain, crypto, stablecoin, these things can become pivotal, and then almost TradFi becomes like a thing of the past. But it seems like they need to coexist for a long time. Like, how do you see the transition? Should there be both in parallel, or should we be trying
Payments
to...
infrastructure never goes away. It just gets a new layer on top of it.
Yeah.
Stablecoins are the layer on top of financial infrastructure for settlement. They are the rail above all of the other rails. They're the glue that's the connective tissue between all of them. They're a genuine platform. So if you think about it that way, it's a different conversation. So people like to point out the or the versus and the competition all the time. And the reality is these things will coexist. And there will be some times when stablecoins are better than TradFi. There'll be some times when TradFi is better than stablecoins, but they coexist. The metaphor I'd give you, though, for the platform is SMS still exists, but you don't really use it. You can make a traditional telephone call, and sometimes when the Wi-Fi is kind of crappy and the signal's bad, that's useful. In a world where you can make a video call, like I just called my kids, I did a little FaceTime to them. It was amazing. My daughters are adorable, and I got to see their faces, and I could see them light up. We live in a time of modern marvels and modern wonders. That is the equivalent of stablecoins. They're instant, they're 24/7, they're programmable. Programmable money is here, people. It's just not widely available. Then sometimes that won't work with the I'm not getting any signal, I can't make a call today. All right, I'll just call them the old-fashioned way, because the advantage of traditional plumbing is it works in your country. It goes all the way to the central bank. It's proper settlement. So we've got to close that gap between those two and make customer experiences that solve problems.
100% agree. Heading into 2026, what's one piece of advice you would give to founders, to executives, to individuals within companies that want to be at the forefront of this and really push the envelope and innovate?
Spend more time learning and try and pick your head up from the desk. I think it's so easy to get lost in this and to treating this as a strategy line item is not learning. You have to learn it. You have to internalize it. You have to be curious. You have to want to understand it, and you have to take your ego out of it, because I think a lot of times we accidentally become tribal. We accidentally start to think about, if we did it this way, we win, rather than trying to be objective and say, what do stablecoins give to the market? What do they give to customers? And then the second question is, what's our right to win? What can we do here? What should we do? That's just separating the two. And go use stablecoins. The amount of people who sit around an executive table that have never used a stablecoin. Oh my goodness. If you haven't used this product, how do you expect to sell it?
Great point said. We're in the final stretch of Fintech Nerdcon. Where can people learn more about you? Where can they find you if they want to actually dig in and understand at a deep level this new stablecoin world we're living in?
You'll find me screaming into the void at fintechbrainfood.com. If you're really stablecoin curious, I run a podcast called Tokenized. That also has a newsletter. Please go take your phone out right now and subscribe to the Tokenized podcast, because I co-host it with Visa's Kai Sheffield. We get on guests from financial institutions, payments companies. It's stablecoins for fintech nerds is the way to think about it. And then lastly, you can find me, Simon, at tempo.xyz, where I'm working with a number of companies helping to bring stablecoins into payments reality.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon, for taking time to meet with us. This has been super valuable. Got a lot of great, valuable insights from the conversation, and excited to see this new stablecoin crypto world continue to unfold. And we love having you at the forefront helping us.
Thank you. Thanks to Galileo for putting together a podcast booth. Thank you for being the first believer in this event. I think you've helped bring this to life. You've done something for the community that you can be really proud of, and you've brought something into the world that I think will outlive just this year. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
This podcast has been a production of Galileo Financial Technologies with all rights reserved. The content is provided for informational purposes only and is not legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. We strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information. You understand that any reliance on this information is at your own risk.